Hi there, I'm Don, and I'm here to tell you how I got offered $1 million job to travel the world with rich burglars I met while I was working on a private jet. But before anything else, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell icon, and give this video a thumbs up to show your support for me. I was a steward in a private jet, so meeting very rich, very powerful people who chartered flights regularly was not a new thing for me. But Bea, Bianca, and Anne stood out from the very moment they stepped into the plane. They had this really strong presence, like you couldn't look away. It didn't hurt that they were absolutely beautiful either. But even the way they spoke, I just knew they had a way of convincing people to do whatever they wished. I put on a smile, greeted them, and showed them to their seats. I really wanted to impress them, so I paid extra attention to their needs. I was there before they even called for attention. I refilled their drinks just before they knew they needed one. I even asked the chef to make everything extra special for them. Now, I treat all our clients the same, but something told me those ladies deserve nothing but the best service. Perhaps I impressed them too much, because as soon as we landed, Bianca pulled me to one side and gave me a ridiculous offer. "Hey kid, why don't you dump this flying tin can and come work for us?" I'm 21. "I don't care. You're kid from now on. So, what do you say?" I began to feel a bit confused, and a little interested to hear more. "What do you mean, work for you?" Just then, Anne heard us talking and came closer to plead their case as well. "Well, you're great at taking direction, you're eager to please, and I think you're just what we're looking for in our team. How does $1 million sound?" A million? What? I'm sorry, ma'am, but what does that even mean? Your team? It's a really generous offer, but I love my job, and it'd be really unprofessional to just leave the crew this early in the season. It's peak time for charters, and we have at least 4 other flights this weekend. Bianca stood from her seat and joined our conversation as well. "Come on, kid, it's a pretty lucrative job. Do you really want to spend years of your life serving other people? Sure, it's not bad money, but what's the best you could get out of this? A nice condo in the city and a bit of spare change? You can do better than that. We're telling you, you can. With us. As for your contract, here, we'll take care of it," said Anne. And they really did. Somehow, probably with the suitcase filled with cash they handed the pilot, they convinced him to let go of me. I said yes, of course. What would you do if a bunch of women asked you to work for them and offered to double your salary? Before we left the airstrip, Bianca asked me, "Can you drive?" "Yeah." "Really fast?" I nodded. The catch was, I didn't know what they wanted me for. But I soon found out. They were burglars. They made me sign a contract before telling me, so I wouldn't just go to the cops. And they threatened me too. As soon as I said yes to the offer, they had someone investigate me. And I knew, if I ever ratted them out, they'd go after the people I loved. They took me to their mansion and gave me a room. They also took me shopping for new clothes. They gave me a new haircut, a new look, and a new identity. I wasn't Dawn anymore. I was Kid. I got a fake ID and an even faker tan. "We can't have you getting recognized now, can we?" said Bea. Then they took me to the parties. Rich people parties. And when I say rich, I mean the kind of wealth you can't even begin to understand. In one of the parties, there were 77 white deer roaming the backyard. In another, we all got driven around in a tank. One of the parties was on a cargo ship in the middle of the ocean. Anne taught me exactly how to befriend them. "You see that guy?" Yeah? "He's worth about 13 billion. Likes art, loves to buy very large gemstones. You should go talk to him." What? Me? Why? And how? Bea put her arm around my shoulders. "Because we're going to steal from him. These parties are the best place to find people we can steal from. You need to learn how to listen in on conversations. Find someone who's talking about what they own or what they've recently acquired. And then, you sweet talk them. Get them to talk about their stuff. They love talking about their stuff. Who knows, they might accidentally let slip where they're hiding things. Okay? I I don't feel comfortable about this. I'm sorry. Go on, kid. You can do it. Or do you want us to have your dad framed for some horrible crime? Chill. Just go on over there and work your magic. Most of these people's stuff is insured anyway. They won't miss it. And so, that's how I got involved in my first burglary. They called themselves the Cat Burglars. Not very discreet or creative at all, considering they literally wore cat suits and cat ears whenever they'd go on a heist. The man they made me talk to was a gem collector, and the thing we were going to steal from him was a rare sapphire he got in Africa. Anne took me aside before they went in. Keep the engine running, and when we say drive, drive. I nodded. It was barely even 5 minutes when the alarms began to sound. From a distance, I saw lights go up. Then, dogs began to bark. My heart began to race, fearing the worst. I was about to rev the car's engine, ready to bolt and leave the girls there in case they got caught. I did not want to go to jail on my first heist. But then, I saw them running towards me. Bianca was yelling, "Drive! Drive! Drive! Right now!" I opened the car doors, and just as I put my feet to the pedal, the girls all jumped inside and we were off. They didn't stop laughing until we were at least a mile away. Bea put her hand on my shoulder and kissed me on the cheek. That was awesome, wasn't it? I nodded. In reality, I almost wet my pants. It was such a rush. And then, before the night ended, Bianca handed me a bag full of money. What's that? Your bonus. I counted it, and it was $100,000. Soon enough, they began to train me. They made me walk on wires, learn wall climbing, and taught me how to use several gadgets they used. Anne was the best teacher. She was patient, and she was always nice. As my training progressed, I began to like her more. And we even kissed once. We flew to the most exotic places, each time bringing back more and more expensive stuff. From China, we stole a 3,000-year-old vase. From New Zealand, we took rare Banksy graffiti from a collector. In Austria, they made me hang from the ceiling on a wire, just like you see in movies, so we could steal a bunch of really old, really expensive paintings. And every time, they'd give me a bag full of money. 100,000 for every job. And then, we went to Monaco. It was the playground for billionaires, after all. And where do the billionaires spend their money in Monaco? The casinos. It took at least half a year of planning, and we stayed in an empty villa that Anne and the other girls broke into. Until one day, the plan was set and everything was ready. Bea dated one of the guards, so we know exactly how they operated, and Bianca stalked the casino's operations manager until they became best friends. Bianca convinced her to spill all the casino's secrets one night. And that was when we went in. I tripped the power to the casino. Anne pulled the fire alarm, and the guests were obviously evacuated. And so, we only had those few minutes. We knew exactly where to go, thanks to Bianca's new bestie. And we knew exactly where the guards would be and wouldn't be, thanks to Bea. Bianca swiped the access card and the combination that she stole from the casino's manager, and within a minute, we had gained access to the vault. It was the most money I'd ever seen in my life. I just stood there. And you would too when you see an entire room filled from floor to ceiling with stacks of cash. I almost went in to dive into a pile just to know what it would feel like. "What are you doing? Put stuff in the bag!" yelled the cat burglars. I did as they told me, and when we were done, we just waltzed out of there as if we weren't even in a hurry. Things were going smoothly. Maybe too smoothly, even. Because when we walked out of the back door, police were waiting for us. They put us in different rooms and questioned us separately. But the girls had trained me endlessly on how to answer in case we ever got caught. It had worked for them every time, they said. So I kept quiet and denied everything and just kept asking for a lawyer. Until eventually, one of the cops sat down in front of me. She smiled at me and said, "You know, they all say you're the mastermind, that you convinced them all of this. Now, I don't believe that one bit, but if you don't say anything, we're gonna have to release them and keep you. All their stories line up, but yours doesn't. And they all have proof that you're behind this." I couldn't believe my ears. Proof? What proof? I can't tell you, but I will say that you can go to jail for at least 20 years. Someone already posted their bail, and they're about to be released. I saw the girls being released from their handcuffs through the window, and when the cops weren't looking, Anne gave me a look. I thought she was going to say sorry. Instead, she mocked me. She was laughing at me. That was when I broke. Was that what they hired me for? Was that what they did all this time? Find a fourth member as a scapegoat. Well, not this time. If I learned one thing in my life, it was that you should record everything I did. I recorded our meetings, and in those meetings, it clearly shows that they were the ones making the plans. I told the police to check my phone, and within an hour, I was free. I made a deal with the detectives, and I told them everything that happened. And somehow, the cops agreed to set me free. I never looked back. I did use the money I'd earned from the cat burglars to buy myself a condo in the city, though. And I drained their bank accounts for good measure and gave it to charity.